Hey everyone, it's Average Gatsby, and welcome back to my Fallout New Vegas unarmed pill-popping psychopath guide. This video I'm going to slow things down a little bit. Last video there was a lot of material to get through as far as stats and skills. This video I kind of want to slow down, talk about certain tips I have for the game, and also get your feedback on how you want the rest of this guide to go. So you're going to notice the first thing I do right here is talk to Victor, and I'm going to show you something that I'll be doing throughout the videos. As you can see, I skip most of the dialogue here. If I was doing a normal guide at this point, which I'm not going to be talking you through the entire tutorial, it's very simple and very linear, and I don't really feel like it's necessary. But if this was a normal video, or all the videos going on from here, I would say, hey, you know, you can talk to Victor and learn some more about what happened to you. I don't really want to give away too many spoilers or reveal too much of the lore in these videos because, one, I don't really think that's what people are coming to watch these videos for. They want tips on how to play the game, how to move the plot forward, things like that. They don't want to know what the plot actually is. And so that's something I'm going to try to avoid, try to avoid the spoilers and try to avoid, you just sitting through pages and pages of me listening to dialogue and whatnot. Dialogue and the story in this game is absolutely my favorite part of it, and so I don't want to spoil that for anyone else. However, I will talk about specific issues or specific chat trees that you can go down to get different results. So I will mention it, and I might even show it if I feel it's necessary, but most of the chat I'm just going to skip. You'll see right there, I sort of took it a step further, and I transitioned from talking to the quest giver to directly to the quest location, and because it's just following Cheyenne around looking for geckos, I don't really need to show that. The game is going to show you how to get there anyway. And I'll do the same thing when it comes to some other missions and whatnot. So that's something you can expect. The travel times are going to be tremendously cut down on this video, but I'll let you know just verbally and maybe showing a little spot on the map, how I get to and from each area, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it because unless it's a secret or sort of a hidden side quest, then you don't really need to know locations, like you don't really need to know where these geckos are. Let's talk about unarmed combat. So you notice I've got some boxing gloves, and you only get these boxing gloves from Doc Mitchell if you either have a high enough unarmed skill or you tag the skill. I'm not sure which, it's one of the two. These boxing gloves cause a certain type of damage called fatigue damage. Boxing gloves, the gold gloves, and boxing tape are the only weapons in the game that cause fatigue damage. Fatigue damage affects an enemy, and it's kind of unique in how it works. In every enemy has a set amount of fatigue besides health. It's a number that no one ever sees, and so I can't tell you how much fatigue each enemy has, how many hits it's going to take, and whatnot. But each enemy has a certain amount of fatigue, and once that fatigue is exhausted, they fall to the ground, and they are knocked out until that fatigue regenerates, which tends to be about 30 seconds. I know that there are some damage numbers on how much fatigue damage the boxing gloves and the boxing tape do online, but it's not really that helpful because we don't really know how much fatigue any of the enemies have. So just know that you're sort of taking a little bit of a risk when you use these weapons, depending on how much fatigue your enemy is going to have. But overall, I think it's pretty useful, and it definitely is better than just going barehanded into this first area. I use the boxing gloves basically until I can get brass knuckles or better, and then I almost never use them again. One thing that you can do as well is when it's a humanoid, you can knock them out with the boxing gloves, and then you can pickpocket them without having a problem. You'll notice I saved the woman back there, and that's kind of a good thing to do because it just helps you get accepted in the town a little bit easier, and I skipped the rest of the tutorial quest because I didn't really think you needed to see it. Now right here, is kind of an interesting moment, and I definitely remember my first playthrough thinking that this whole dialogue that you stumble in on, oh, this is something that's going to move the main plot forward. This is something, you know, I need to take care of right away. And I would highly advise that you don't do that. If you do, you're very likely going to become vilified with the powder gangers, and that's just going to make your life a lot more difficult in the early parts of the game. The powder gangers are still going to attack you on sight if you get close enough, but becoming vilified with them makes things difficult for a few side quests later on that'll give you a nice experience bonus. Now, because you save the woman, you get a discount, which basically means that my barter skill of 8 doesn't have quite as bad of a negative effect as it's going to have on all the other merchants. Basically, things are closer to a 1-for-1 value here. I like to go through and sell all of my heaviest items that I'm going to get rid of to her early on in the game, and you know, that's just to get rid of some weight and also to make some money. She only has 212 caps, so you're not going to be able to sell too many things. In fact, there's a lot of heavy stuff that you may have if you have the DLC that you're not even going to be able to get rid of right away. I like to keep my high-end armors that I started with in the game because I might be using those later on, but everything else is for sale. One thing I would definitely recommend is don't become a hoarder in Fallout. It's really hard to sort of part with all of your stuff because you think, oh, I might need this, I might need that. To me, if it has weight, sell it. And that's another thing I do want to stress. Only sell your items with weight early on in the game because you are going to break the bank of the first couple merchants that you see just selling weighted items. And if you throw in things like ammo, which I know have weight in hardcore mode, but this is normal mode, so they don't have any weight. But if you throw in items that don't have weight early on, then you're just going to be even more weighted down as you go through the game. So as you can see, you know, I'm selling my various heavy items to her, and I didn't sell all of my heaviest stuff. And right here, for some reason, I didn't buy the meeting people and Salesman Weekly and these other things right away. I did go back and buy those, so I highly recommend at every merchant you pick up all of their temporary skill books, and you also buy all of the Sunset Sarsaparilla you can. That's going to be helpful for certain quests later on in the game. This is going to be one of the only times I'm going to show buying and selling in the game because, you know, it's not a super exciting aspect, and it's pretty obvious what I'll be doing. Another thing I do want to talk about with buying and selling is that it's very, very tempting as an unarmed character, specifically the build that I go, to try to hold on to things because your barter skill is so low. You're getting things at half their value or less oftentimes, and it's real easy to try to just hold on to everything, but I would caution against that. You're going to make so much money as an unarmed character, and our luck skill is going to be so useful later on that caps are essentially going to become a non-issue for you. So just sell all the heavy stuff you can, and don't be afraid to let anything go. Now right here I wanted to show Cheyenne's little dialogue because she's going to give you a helpful little hint on where some loot is around here, and it's helpful for us because there's a lot of drugs in there, and we don't really have any drugs yet, so we need to pick those up. I'm going to be using drugs pretty consistently in this game whenever I run into something that's even remotely challenging. So, you know, that's what I need. I just need it to get through here. I'm just kidding. You don't really need drugs to get through this game by any means, but I just think they're a lot of fun, and if you have them, why not use them? I guess another pro tip would be check all the mailboxes in Goodwin. In fact, check every mailbox you see because people put the randomest stuff in there, and you'll get a lot of the temporary skill books in there. Now, when I first barged into the schoolhouse, which is where Cheyenne tells you to go, I punched all of the mantises here. You can actually just jump on them, and they'll die. So, I don't know if you need a certain amount of weight. I don't think you do. but they are very easy to kill, and these mantis forelegs give you surprising amount of caps for having no weight at all. One thing I do need to point out is that you don't really need to hold on to anything as an unarmed character for a schematic or something like that later on. They were originally going to make a certain weapon in the game have a sort of schematic type system for unarmed, but they decided not to. So, you don't need to hold on to parts to, make the Mantis unarmed weapon. You're not going to have a problem with that. So there are two ways to get into this safe. You either have a high enough electronic skill or you have a high enough lockpicking skill. And through my locksmith's reader, which Cheyenne gave me, I'm going to be able to get right in here pretty easily. Here's another tip for locksmithing. If you ever have your bobby pin get stuck twice, there's a really high likelihood that it'll break on the third time. If you want to save your bobby pins, just back out and come back in, and everything will essentially be reset. And right there I get my first level up. I like to take everything that is hovering below 15 up to 15 simply because it makes it really easy to just use a skill book and get through a section. Except barter. I don't really mess with barter too much in this game. I know there's some nice dialogue that you can get through and you can get some bonus caps if you have enough barter skill, but like I said before, we're going to be rolling in caps in this game, so money is just not a big issue. I'll be grabbing Confirmed Bachelor first as my perks, and it's not because I want to make a gay character, but it's because there's a lot of funny dialogue that you can get with it, and more importantly, it does 10% damage to all male characters, or male enemies in the game, and that's pretty important because almost all of the enemies in this game are male. In fact, if you're going to be fighting the Legion quite a bit, all legionaries are essentially male. Another thing, you can rob Victor's house without getting any negative karma. I don't think negative karma is something you really have to worry about in this game. What matters much more is the reputation. I like that feature. I like the whole reputation system. I feel it's a lot more involving, that people like you or not based on some sort of cosmic force or cosmic watcher that has seen if you've taken cereal bowls from someone's house, but more on what they see and how you're relating to them on a case-by-case basis. Right here I'm going to run into my first Weird Wasteland event, and I don't want to talk too much about this movie, but let me just say I thought this movie was horrible, and that this moment with the whole refrigerator scene was just awful. Was the worst moment in the movie. So, but you know what? We'll take the good-looking hat and we'll wear it, and I think my character looks pretty good with it on. So, whatever. Another thing is, it's kind of nice to save in this spot because you'll be able to skip the tutorial later on if for some reason you didn't like doing it. You'll get a complete character rebuild coming up here, and so it can save you some time if you're going to do some sort of a speed run or something like that. And yes, I know there's a sort of an experience and perks glitch that you can do over here. I'm not really going to talk about it. I'm not going to use it. And if you want to know how to do that, go on YouTube and look it up. I'm sure there's plenty of videos out there that can show you how to do it. I like to walk over to this first little area just so I can get another spot to fast travel to, and also because there's usually a powder ganger or two over here, and I'm going to need a powder ganger outfit sooner or later. So I'm going to walk over here, and you don't want to kill too many of these guys. I think on the third powder ganger you kill, you're going to become vilified with them. So you don't really want to kill too many of them. If you become vilified with the powder gangers, they're going to recognize you whether or not you're wearing a powder ganger outfit. So that's just something to keep in mind. So I'm going to grab all them up, and we're going to be moving on to Prim next video. So as always, give me any feedback you like. Let me know what you thought about the transitions. If you thought it was a good video, go ahead and give it a like. And, as always, rate, comment, subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.